and the Office of the President's Family, may we request the COMSEC to read into the record the presence of everybody here.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. For the proposed budgets of the Office of the President and the Presidential Management Staff, we have the following resource persons: Executive Secretary Salvador C. Medialdea, Acting Senior Deputy Executive Secretary Michael P. Ong, Deputy Executive Secretary Rizalina N. Hustol, Deputy Executive Secretary Alberto A. Bernardo, Deputy Executive Secretary Ryan Alvin R. Acosta, Acting Deputy Executive Secretary MacGill Brian T. Fernandez, Executive Director Pedro Cesar Ramboanga Jr., Undersecretary Jimmy L. I. Manabat of the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission, Deputy Envoy Hazel I. Hoves of the Office of the Special Envoy on Transnational Crime, Undersecretary Alan C. Gisihan, Philippine Center on Transnational Crime, Mr. Ray Zarate, Head Operational Readiness Assessment and Compliance Monitoring Service, Anti-Terrorism Council Program Management Center. And then from the Presidential Management Staff, we have Undersecretary Ferdinand B. Cui, the Acting Head of the PMS, and Assistant Secretary Marietta T. Tamondong, the Acting Deputy Head of the PMS. Madam Chair.
Read the Commission on Visiting Forces. Na-acknowledge ba ho kayo? Parang di ko narinig. The Executive Director Ramboanga. Nabasa mo? Was everybody acknowledged po? Yes, okay. So, welcome. This is the second hearing. First was DFA. I don't see anything controversial with your hearing, and I'm alone on a Thursday. Unless the senators upstairs would like to come down because the media are covering us. Yes. And so you have a friendly chair, and I know that your budgets have been cut by how many percent, Secretary? 30%? You have not been cut. But I thought because of the cash budget, all agencies' budget were reduced. No. But you're asking for a 12% increase. Yes.
At first, ma'am, the proposed budget was really cut, but when we were given already the ceiling, so I have to talk to the Secretary Jokno because of the needs of the President. That's why that we have now the 12.32% increase of our budget from 2018.
We will see that in the presentation of ES, the budget itself and the justification for the 12% increase. I know for a fact that the PMS, which is the backbone of the President's office, is merely renting their space and will be moving back. And a little bird told me, no, it's USEC, that they did not anticipate, or was it cut? The equipment or furniture for the new office of PMS, which will be occupied, is it this year or next year, was not inputted in the budget. So how can we have an office without furniture or equipment? Is that correct, Undersecretary Cui?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. That's correct po. In fact, what was not anticipated was the increase in the prices of office equipment and office system and furnitures when we go back to the newly retrofitted
You can't use your old
PMS
furniture?
building. We're doing away with the old furniture, ma'am. It's too old and
Maganda yun, antique.
medyo may mga anay na, ma'am. So we're shifting to an office system po, and
Okay.
that wasn't anticipated, and we're appealing for its inclusion in the 2019 budget.
Sige po, we will listen to your budget, Secretary Medialdea.
Rizalina Hustol to present our budget po.
Proceed.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we'll be now presenting the budget of the Office of the President. So as presented on the slides, or maybe we have a copy, that the budget of the Office of the President has an increase of 12.32% compared to 2018 budget. So we'll go to the next slide. Now, this is now the comparative budget between 2018 and 2019. The personal services, we have an increase of 84,045,000, representing 8.45%, and this increase will answer the fourth tranche implementation this coming January. Then for the MOE, the increase of 11.09%, this is also to represent we need more resources because of the nationwide reach of the President's directive. So, maraming siyang directive.
Isayin po natin, itong 12% po na karagdagan o increase sa inyong budget, first, the PS is due to the SSL.
Yes, ma'am.
Di ba po? And this is government-wide.
Yes.
It includes the Senate, yes. The salary increase based on the salary standardization law. Because, again, we have to explain this because people may say, oh, Duterte, 12%, under Duterte administration, 12% increase OP. Bakit magasto si Presidente? So we have to explain that there is the SSL law and 8.45% will go to the compliance of the law.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
sige
ma'am.
po. The
Now,
MOE,
MOE of 11.09%. This is also to cover of the more, we need more resources because the nationwide reach out of the President's directive. Umiikot-ikot po lahat si Sir ng mga maraming directives po nationwide. So, nag-anticipate po kami ng mga expenses on supplies, expenses on traveling. Kaya yun po ang magre-represent po ng 11.09%. Now, when it comes to capital outlay, the capital outlay is a very big increase of 38.22%. So this will represent, yes, that's a very, and we are going the retrofitting and replacement of old equipment as well as refurnishing because we have already old equipment, we have old buildings, so we have to look into it's already part of the plan. So that's the very reason why we haggle to budget that indeed there's a need to increase the budget for 2019.
this was part of your tier 2.
Yes, ma'am. Actually,
Nasa tier two yan.
nandito rin yan, ma'am, sa next presentation ko that in Tier 1, for personal services, on Tier 1 is only 1,062,988. Then in MOE, in Tier 1 is also 4.2 billion only. All of our capital outlay are in Tier 3 at Tier 2.
Please proceed.
Okay. So shall we go to the next slides, please? So the budget of the budget is presented.
Para po maliwanag, bigyan
Sige
na lang
po.
po kami, maski wala sa slide ngayon, ng breakdown ng 38%, yung sa capital outlay, yung medyo malaki. Yung SSL, madaling paliwanag yun. Yung
Ito.
MOE, yes, but the breakdown of capital outlay, we just want to know repairs of which buildings, just so that I would know, I'll be asked that.
Yes, ma'am, because it is already included in that Form C of the budget preparation, the budget submitted, nasa Form C po siya.
Okay.
But anyway, this is now the summary. I can give you the summary,
Yes,
ma'am, for the
please.
capital outlay. For the capital outlay of 38.22% increase, or shall we say that it is increased from 370,190,000 in 2018. This is now for the acquisition of various machineries and equipment, furnitures, which is now, we can find it in the Form C of the budget submitted. So other land and improvements of 8.6 million total, but details will be on that Form C. The buildings and other structures of 282 million. Expansion and upgrading of projects of
Nandito there.
ECTO, this is 84.4 million. Acquisition of other machineries and equipment of 15.3 million. Furnitures and fixtures of 9.3 million. Communication equipment of 0.4 million. Transportation equipment of 94.3 million. Then we have other PPA of 16.5 million and the computer software of 0.9 million. So that will tally to 517,411,000.
Thank you.
Now, on the part naman of the presentation of our budget because of the cash budget, so open now to comply with the cash budget appropriation, OPNL, we have submitted already our annual procurement plan as required by DBM to be submitted on August 31. Then we plan also, ma'am, that the first and second quarter for 2019 will be on board of the bank by the year end, by the last quarter of this month.
That Deputy Executive Secretary Justol or Hustol?
Postal po, ma'am.
Taga saan po kayo?
Asawa ko po taga Bohol. Ako po ay taga Cebu dahil Nobal po ako.
Okay, kasi
But
very
we are-
unique ang pangalan po nyo.
But we are from Davao.
Okay, sige po. Anyway, Deputy ES Hustol, nabanggit po nyo yung cash budget. I would like to ask Executive Secretary, before the break, the long break of Congress, there was some confusion on whether the cash budget will indeed be followed. I'm conducting my hearings based on the President's budget, the NEP, based on the cash budget. So I would just like to make sure that the lower house and the Senate are in agreement on using the office on the President's budget of the 12-month cash budget, which has a 3-month extension. I understand that there could be a 6-month extension on account of the campaign, di ba? Siyempre, pag kampanya, national and local campaign, maaapektuhan ang implementation of projects. And then, while I am in full agreement with the cash budget, I also understand the concerns of the lower house for the request for the extension. May I know if the executive already discussed it with the lower house?
With respect to the
Yes.
6 months extension,
Yes.
I confirm that there was a discussion.
Okay.
And there was already an agreement probably to extend it to 6 months
Yes.
to give all parties the leeway, no,
Yes.
to meet their obligation.
Okay. So we're in agreement that we're using the President's budget, the NEP, but the extension will be from 3 to 6 months. Yes. Okay. And no supplemental budget was discussed.
At the time
At this point, we are not. Yeah. Okay. Please proceed.
So as, next slide please. The budget of the Office of the President is presented by program of expenditures. Sorry, by program of expenditures. So we have the operations. Under operations, we have the oversight, presidential oversight program, which 59.8% of the budget goes to the presidential oversight program, the presidential advisory program, the presidential legal and legislative services program, and the presidential executive staff services program. So, and the other one is the general administrative and support services program. This is then we have also the automatic appropriations, which is to cover the retirement and life insurance and the pensions for the ex-president of 480,000.
Just for the record, ma'am, could you please explain what is the Presidential Oversight Program? Because it has the bulk of the gas budget.
The Presidential Oversight Program, ma'am, these are the programs wherein their functions as the issuance of presidential directives, special powers and authorities and clearances, policy development and formulation of strategic presidential intervention, oversight management on national security concern and public assistance and information services, and the last one is the oversight of general government internal control system. Then on advisory program, the Presidential Advisory Program also covers the Presidential Advisory Assistance Program. Then on Presidential Legal and Legislative Services Program, provide legal advice, renew contracts, and resolve case on appeal, prepare presidential issuance, conduct investigation, and render decision on complaint against presidential appointees. Then on Presidential Executive Staff Services Program, this is now to cover the presidential security and close-in functions, then the management of special events and internal house affairs. Then for the general administration and support services, of course, this is now the finance office. yung general management and supervision, which includes the finance office, the human resource management office, assets management office, motor pool office, engineering, Malacanang information and communication technology, and Malacanang museum and library po. Ayun, sir. Kasama na. Tuloy pa ako. Tapos na po ako doon, ma'am, except kung may mga question pa po. Basta our budget is really support on the CAS budget appropriation. That's why we have a plan that early procurement of the first and second quarter, so that when we receive the SARO in January, automatically we have to issue the purchase request and the notice to proceed of the different projects po. Thank you.
Want to put on record the confidential and intel funds. Although I have the breakdown here, I would like it to come from the executive secretary or whoever is a representative, because I will be asked this on the floor, just like I was asked of it last year, and I actually know the components of the CI funds. May we just put it on record, please? Where does it go?
That's
Yes, thank you. And may we just know the process of facilitating the release or disbursement of the CI funds under the OP?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
But
And may also be clarified, please, on the NDREAM funds. Is the NDREAM funds lodged with the OP or DBM? Does it need presidential directive or clearance to release the NDREAM?
I think
Madam Chair, the NDREAM fund is a separate item. It's not part of OP funds, but it needs presidential approval for it to be released, and we yes, and we always seek the comment and recommendation of the NDRMC before releases from the NDREAM fund.
It's with the DBM, but it needs presidential approval. But the CI is directly lodged under the OP. May we just have from Deputy Executive Secretary Bernardo the components of the CI funds?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The intelligence and confidential requirements are based on the coordinated and integrated national intelligence estimates of local and foreign situations for the formulation of the national policy of the President. This may include all information, events, and incidents in terms of the risk they pose or implications upon or threat to the overall security and stability of the nation. And it may cover domestic, foreign, military, political, economic, social, and educational policies relating to national security. The budget estimates are based on policy guidelines provided by the budget call, as well as the budget parameters and guidelines of the OP. The following units of the OP are considered part of the intelligence community. For example, the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission. They conduct intelligence and counterintelligence operations to identify government officials and employees, crime syndicates, and their cohorts who are involved in criminal activities. Second, subject to existing laws, grant monetary rewards or incentive to informants, giving information leading to the successful prosecution of criminal offender and corrupt government officials. Second, the Philippine Center on Transnational Crime, to establish, through the use of modern information and telecommunication technology, a shared central database among government agencies for information on criminals, methodologies, arrests, and convictions on the following transnational organized crime: illicit trafficking of narcotics and pyrotropic substances, money laundering, terrorism, arms smuggling, trafficking in persons, piracy, and other crimes that may have impact on the stability and security of the country. Third, Presidential Commission on Visiting Forces Agreement. Submit to the President an annual report that contains an assessment of whether the status of forces agreement continue to serve, among others, the national security interests. Second, the Presidential Commission on Visiting Forces shall be lead interagency mechanism to provide policy coordination and advice, guidance and assessment to ensure that all SOFAs serve the national interests. Fourth, the National Coast Watch System conduct periodic review of maritime security operations and render periodic reports to the President and the National Security Council. Second, provide the President and national security leaders recommendations to update strategic level guidance, policies, and standards to promote information and intelligence sharing across a wide range of domestic and international maritime stakeholders. On maritime intelligence, it is a product of existing as well as changing intelligence capabilities, policies, and operational relationships used to integrate all available data, information, and intelligence in order to identify, locate, and track potential threats to maritime interests. It provides accurate and relevant and collaborative maritime threat information to operational and law enforcement entities, supporting a variety of tactical, operational, and strategic requirements. Fifth, the Presidential Situation Room provide current intelligence and crisis support to the President, the Executive Secretary, the National Security Advisor, and the Secretary of the Presidential Management Staff.
I think you can stop there.
Yes, ma'am.
So the breakdown of the intelligence and confi funds would be this 6. Ito, no? I have 6.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes. We don't have the breakdown how much per commission.
During the start of the year, Madam Chair, there will be a workshop among the intelligence community, and they will be preparing work and financial plan for the current and fresh trends and development in the national security environment. And from that workshop in the first semester, in the first quarter of 2019, it is then that specific allocations will be requested and fresh approval will be done by the President or authorized authority on the matter.
Remember, in this year's budget, there was a breakdown, diba? Meron tayong breakdown. Ha? Alistan binigay din sa akin. It wasn't in the budget. I will be asked 2.5, that's quite big. Ano na pupunta sa Coast Watch? Ano sa Presidential Situation Room? So just so that we don't have it yet because as you said, there's going to be a workshop in the first quarter. So it's a lump sum and that's when you will decide where to use it for what, no? But don't you have like a ceiling for each? Like you'll know which is for the visiting forces. You'll know what is for maritime, more or less that the visiting forces cannot claim 500 million of the 2.5, right? Or the maritime would have bigger support than the visiting forces. We'll have an idea. Maybe not now if you're not ready to answer it. Just before I go to plenary, may I request just a guesstimate on what is your proposed allocation for each component of the 2.5?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Maybe based on this year's allocation.
Yes.
You gave me a list there.
Yes,
for
we will
this year.
provide some indicative
Just indicative.
figures for us to be able to provide some function-based allocation of resources, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Pwede yung 2018 allocation.
Oo. Can you just put into the record, please, a 2018 allocation?
We don't have the actual breakdown for 2018, but I would surmise that it's ongoing, Madam Chair. The allocation
Meron
for the
tayo.
2018, it's still in the month of nasa August pa lang, ma'am. Kaya we could not be able to give the entire estimate for the 2018 allocation, ma'am. Maybe during the latter part of the year, we could provide some estimate, Madam Chair.
Joint circular, diba? That provides for the guidelines for the entitlement, release, use, reporting, and audit of the CF and IF.
Madam Chair, the OP is always careful to observe the procedure for auditing and the budgeting of the intel and confi funds. So there is a special procedure under that joint circular for the auditing of such funds, and we observe that, and part of the information, among the information that we give COA under that procedure is the specific breakdown for each unit and the OP that receives Intel funds. So it's part of the confidential information that we send to the Commission on Audit, Madam Chair.
The breakdown or the allocation of the 2018 Confi and Intel funds was given to COA and cannot be given to Congress, but I was given. ES gave it to me last year in answer to the plenary question because it was asked of me. I'm sure.
Ito yung sinabit nila sa atin last
Hindi ko pwedeng sabihin on record. It's a confidential document.
walang allocation.
No, I think there is,
Walang amount. Okay, I understand. I understand. Oh, it was again the 6 components, but not the allocation of each. Ito meron there. Ayan. 2018. Meron. I have the breakdown here.
Madam Chair,
But it's a confidential document. We don't have to put it on record.
yes, please, Madam
I
Chair.
have the PS, MOE, the CO of each, but it's a confidential document. We have to observe this. Hindi. I understand.
Yeah, thank you, Madam
Sure.
Chair.
So that's 2018, right? Also, could you kindly give me just a confidential document about when you have the information on the allocation of the 2.5? I will just compare it with the 2018.
Yes, Madam Chair, we would follow the same protocol as we did last
The same
year.
protocol.
Thank you, Madam.
Yes. Thank you. I have a question. The Presidential Situation Room is funded under the 2.5, and this supports the National Security Advisor, who also has his own budget under the NSA budget. What do you call the office of the NSA? NSC. The NSC has its own budget. And so my question is, you give the NSA through the PSR, but he also has his own budget.
Yes, Madam Chair.
How will it differ?
Considering the chair of the National Security Council is the President himself, the President would not entirely rely on the submissions of the NSC and other intel practitioners in the Situation Room. The President also conducts its own validation and additional parallel intelligence activities on the matter. And so therefore there would be fusion and integration during the discussion in the Situation Room. It is very true that the NSA has the responsibility to man the Presidential Situation Room, but it is also the President through the Executive Secretary that also sits in the Situation Room that must also fuse intelligence briefing.
Is it actually used frequently? And are you updated with your equipment? Is it high-tech? Actually, I've been invited by General Esperon, Secretary Esperon, to visit it. For the past 2 years, I've not had the chance to visit it. I was just wondering, maybe I should visit it this year, it's my last term, to see whether you are actually equipped with what you need to make the judgments necessary for the intelligence information supplied to the President.
it's functioning, and they give a daily report. I think we receive daily reports.
The daily report from the PSR, from the NSA, would go to the President through the ES.
Yeah.
But it goes through you or directly to the President? Simultaneously.
Yeah.
May I know what aspects of national security does it cover? Does it cover just the military dimension of national security? Does it also involve economic security? Let's say the issue of NFA rise. Does it also include maritime security? I'm sure it does. To what extent are we actually covering? Let's say something is happening in a post in, let's say, our embassy in London. Does that happen on a daily basis? Ganong kabilis ba ang pag-access nila ng intel information?
The whole Madam Chair, the whole spectrum of national security are captured in the Situation Room on a real-time basis, from socio-cultural to technological, from diplomatic. For example, in promoting national interests and interests of nationals across the borders, these are also inputs being provided to the President. The President are provided once or twice a day on President's daily brief, and this is also provided to the Executive Secretary, to the President, and select cabinet officials. On top of that, the PSR also conducts on situations that would call. They would convene and provide fresh update on how things are developing from time to time.
Only because I've not actually seen a daily report of the PSR to the head of state. Can you show me just one, just for me, not for the committee, a format in previous years, days? I just want to see. And as a national security expert, well, student, I'd like to see whether all aspects. I'm glad you mentioned socio-cultural dimension. Ano ba yung 5 nating dimension? Deputy Executive Secretary. Sinimula mo na rin, ikaw na magtapos nung 5 dimension. Nag-MNSA ka?
Yes, I'm RC33, ma'am.
RC33, o kaya may socio-cultural siya eh. O, ano pa yung ibang dimension nga natin? Review nga tayo. Ano eh?
Technological,
25 years ago na ako eh. O, sige na. Sorry ha, ES, kaya muna magre-review kami. Sige. Socio-cultural dimension. Political dimension. Economic dimension. Military dimension.
Technological.
Ano?
Technological, ma'am.
Technological?
Yes, ma'am.
Iba yung panahon namin.
Yes,
Kami may religious dimension.
It's a subsume, ma'am, ngayon doon sa current, kasi we follow the acronym of STIPL. It's a new concept that are...
Ano yung sa inyo?
It's STIPL. The S is socio-cultural, T is
Socio-cultural.
technological, E is economics, the second E is a competitive environment,
Iba na yung sa
the
inyo.
natural environment, political.
Okay, sa amin may religious dimension. And during our time, there was no environmental dimension. I would have added that. And I think, I hope that they've added that now. So dapat 6 dimensions na. During our time, we didn't have technological. But now, it should be because of new media, whatever you call it, ICT, new media, etc. So mas madami na ang dimension, right? RC33 ka. Okay. So he's...
Siguro, ma'am,
pero kaming...
we just seek the permission of the National Security Advisor to give you a copy of...
I'm sure he'll agree. Yung mga luma, dati, oo. Ano, for my eyes only, I just want to... It would be interesting to see.
Mga 10 years ago.
Yes, yes. No, maybe a report during exciting times.
We will
Give me,
comply.
let's say, give me a report during something that happened. I want to see how. So these reports are gathered by all over the country, all over the world, by our posts, and they're given daily to the president. Meaning, ano po ang lag time nung report? How interesting. And who collates the report? So, how is it called all over the world and all over the country? And who writes it? Who vets it? Who writes it? And to make sure the information, because the judgment of the president will be based on that report. The ES will not know how to vet it because galing yan sa field everywhere. So that's so interesting.
Actually, ma'am, the best person to answer that will be the National Security Advisor. But
We always talk naman. We always talk. He comes to the office. We always ask for an increase in his budget. That's why I'm asking you, because I can see that the PSR already has an allocation. I always tell him, General Esperon, he will know. Increase. Ang laki-laki na ng 2.5. Hihingi siyang sarili. Meron siyang sarili. Augmentation pa. Because I'm a believer in Intel, I always support. Yon. Okay. So you don't have to. I mean, only if you can, only if it does not breach any national security doctrine for me to see an old, what do you call it, a daily report to a national security report. Yes. What time does the president read it? When is it given to him? Basta pagising niya, nandyan na yan.
Ma'am, twice a day po, 7 days a week. It's every 12 noon and 8 p.m.
12 and 8. How interesting. How many pages is one report? Format lang tayo, hindi content, ha? Interesting, kasi
it
gagawin
can-
ko sa opisina ko yun, eh.
It can be anywhere between 2 to 5 pages.
Okay. 2 to 5 pages through PMS.
It's a
Yes.
partnership po, ma'am. As ES said, it's a fusion. The Office of the National Security Advisor, OP, and PMS. And of course, the primary sources are the AFP OPSEN, the PNP OPSEN, and the DFA updates, among
Okay.
others.
Okay. How about, so 2 to 5 pages, 12 noon and 8 p.m., this is soft copy, I assume, or hard copy sa Presidente?
The sensitive ones are, of course, delivered via safe hands, ma'am.
Who among the OP have a copy? The ES said it's ES and the President, but you said it's also course to the PMS. So does it mean that USECWI can read what the President is reading?
I have to, ma'am. I have to
Oh.
vet the information that's there.
Very good.
Part of my job.
Okay.
Within the limited time frame afforded to us.
You vet it. That's not
Partly,
easy,
ma'am.
huh?
Those that we can within the limited time frame. Of course,
So-
we indicate that it's still being verified, if it's still being verified.
So that's PMS, that's ES, the President. Who else has a copy? Does
SAP.
our deputy, SAP, deputy, senior deputy, and deputy executive would have it? So PMS, SAP, ES, and the President. Interesting. Like to see a copy. What do you do? Is it a secured online platform, or is it just any Gmail or any Malacanang email? No, but the hard copy comes from a soft copy. So how do we secure our online platform or the email? Is it an unhackable email?
Po yan ng NSA.
O sige, palala niyo, tatanong ko kay General Esperon yun, kasi ang daming nahahack eh. Hindi natin alam.
Ma'am, on our,
Anyone can just hack the online platform of any president's daily situation reports. Oo.
Madam Chair,
Di ba, ang
if I-
bilis naman ng China, basahin yan. Oh. Ang,
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes. Oo.
on the part of PMS, we use standalone computers. So it's not connected to any Wi-Fi.
walang Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
That's
the
more
best-
secure.
That's the best guarantee po.
Okay. And then you erase it on the hard drive.
It's,
In short, you type it on the standalone and
Yeah.
no Wi-Fi, and then you erase it as soon as you print it.
Maybe, Madam Chair,
That means you don't have a soft copy.
maybe, Madam Chair, the NSA would share with you on a personal basis.
Oo, wag na ako matanong dito. Sige, sige. I just get excited when we talk about Intel, eh. That's my, para ko nakakalimutan ko na sa hearing ako, kala ko na sa klase ako. Sige. Okay. So, we'll hear the PMS budget. We're done with the Office of the President. Yes, because last year ba mga tinanong ko, hindi na eh. Yung 12% lang naman ang ano nila. Ito lang. Gusto ko lang po makilala kung sino ang in charge ng bawat isa. Yung PAOK. Sino pong PAOK? Kayo po. O sige po, wag na po tumayo. Yung anti-terrorism, sino po sa inyo? ATC. Okay, ATC PMC. ATC PMC. Visiting forces. Do you give Congress a copy of your reports? Because I used to chair the Defense Committee and we had an oversight committee where we used to work with ES, panahon yun ni ES Ochoa, and we used to have oversight meetings on the Visiting Forces Agreement.
When we are called to present, we come and present. The LOBFA of the Congress, we were called upon to present already, so
Yes.
we presented already to
I've not
Congress.
attended in quite a while the LOBFA
So-
meetings. When was your last LOBFA meeting, sir?
Siguro, ma'am,
This year?
late last year.
Late last year. Can I
For-
just-
your staff is from time to time giving inquiring from us some
Later, you give
some
me the name of the
data.
staff, baka hindi authorized, ha? You give me the name of the staff,
Can-
anyone can just pretend to be my staff. Do not just give.
I think it's something, Kandao? Is that Kandao?
Comsec. Okay, hindi ko staff, pero Senate staff. Okay po.
Yeah.
Sige po. Perhaps we could just get a copy of the latest VFA report. Do we have joint exercises ongoing? May joint exercises po tayo ngayon. VFA activities.
Incoming will be the exercise for the Kamandag, the marine exercises with the U.S.
Saan po ginaganap yon?
In different places na na kanilang napili, the incoming is somewhere in Zambales.
Okay. You're also in charge not just of the US VFA but of the SOFA with Australia. SOFA.
Yes, ma'am. So far with Australia, we have already published a generic manual, or what we call the omnibus implementing rules and regulations that is strictly followed once arrival of the visiting forces. Before they arrive, on the date of arrival, during the exercises, and when they leave. This is true for, this is being applied for the American visiting forces, also Australian visiting
We
forces.
only have 2 visiting forces.
Yes, ma'am.
Just for the record, I voted against the US VFA, but I sponsored the Australian VFA. So I wanted to see the most recent report on the US VFA. Are they compliant now? There are no violations of... tahimik na yun eh.
Yes, ma'am. Ano naman, going well, except for yung...
Which is more helpful? Are you able to compare the joint activities with the US and with Australia? Although the US is way ahead in 1999, Australia was just a few years ago.
Yeah, our relationship with the United States is more mature. Yung mga Australians, ma'am, nag-ano lang sila, there is a surge during and after the Marawi incident. Kasi we also got some assistance from them. Since we are lacking in military operations in urban terrain, they sent a task force to train our Marines and our Army.
That's very important, yes.
Yes, ma'am. They went all over from Luzon to Mindanao, ma'am.
So the Australia SOFA includes urban warfare.
Whatever they could,
Whatever.
the one that they just finished is the military operations in urban terrain.
And that would have been useful in Marawi.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And did they do it before Marawi or after?
After na, ma'am.
Sayang.
And that's the time na we realized that kulang tayo sa ano.
Should we not ask the US VFA to teach us the thing and to donate or help us with hardware and software regarding this, as Australians do?
Yes, ma'am. On the parallel, we have parallel efforts. The U.S. Marines, who is handling our part of the Pacific, they are the ones teaching us. There are also some modules on military and urban terrains being taught by the Americans.
May I just see, if it's allowed, also what the Australians have taught us insofar as urban warfare is concerned, and what the U.S. has taught us. Jungle warfare, we know that already, but urban warfare, as we know, terrorism, etc. Are there templates or there workbooks for urban warfare, even for civilians to learn from?
Our armed forces are getting some field manuals from the Americans, and probably the Australians also are, kasi they do it practically, on the practical basis. they send a task force here, and this task force composed of around 60 Australian military going from one place in, say for example, in 2nd Division, they taught our soldiers in 2nd Division how to do it, and they went to Silang, Cavite, and the Marine camp in Cavite, and they taught the Marines there. They went to Davao in Mawab. They taught the army there. So it's an ongoing effort of the Australians.
Okay. Good, good. The Australians also, in some of their military installations, have made their camps resilient insofar as climate change adaptation and mitigation is concerned. Is that covered? That should be covered, because all aspects of national security would concern not just the military aspect, but environmental aspect as well. It would be good, may I suggest, that in both the U.S. and the Australian VFA, we include, can I have a copy of my books? Give them pala each a copy of my humanitarian space. Could we include that in the menu for our VFA, our 2 VFA? Because Australia is very good in climate change adaptation and mitigation in their camps, in their military installations.
Yes, ma'am. I will suggest that to Captain White, their military attaché here.
In fact, the Australian Aid Agency, what do you call the Australian Aid Agency? AusAid has funded us a lot for DRR. Even our vulnerability mapping. So this can be used in military installations. And I'll give you a copy of my book. That was my commandant's paper in CGSC, which is now a book. Everybody should be given a copy. Which is Resilience of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the AFP in the humanitarian space. And I cited the military installations in Australia as being models of climate adaptation. Now, how do I simplify and operationalize what I'm saying? Pag biglang mawala ng kuryente ang ating mga, ang Kapaginaldo, paano na tayo? Pag biglang mag-earthquake at gumuho ang ating mga gusali doon, paano na tayo? So, kailangan resilient ang struktura natin. Retrofitted, kailangan may microgrid para yung transmission na malayo, kung putulan ng kuryente, kung mabomba, or maapektuhan dahil sa natural hazards, ay hindi maapektuhan. Pag walang tubig, paano yan? Pag tag-init, kailangan may water catchment para may nakaresebang tubig. And basic things. So, Yolanda was an example, yung mga police station mismo, the police were trying to rescue their families and themselves because the police detachment was not in a location far from the coast. So, ang ibig ko po sabihin ay magandang pag-aralan natin ang ginagawa ng Australia sa resilience ng kanilang mga pulisya at ng militar. And we could ask that from our VFA. Di ba? We do the menu kung anong kailangan. So, maganda yan, urban warfare, yes, we should learn that and be trained. And equipment and software should be given. And then our installations resilience is important. Yeah.
Every start of the year, there is what they call the planning conference, where they plan what they would do the incoming the year. So I will suggest that to the armed forces and also talk to the Australian attaché.
I'm sure they will be happy to help and exchange and give their knowledge, hopefully even technology, equipment for that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Have a hearing on this? Yes.
We attended the hearing
There's
on
a convention.
Arms Trade Treaty.
Hindi pa napapasa, no?
Hindi pa po.
Because
Ratification.
there's a strong opposition from
Arms Corps, ma'am. The private sector.
the private
But
sector.
we have, the committee has already you did convene those who attended to be a technical working group. So we're waiting for that.
Because they were saying if we ratify it and become part of the convention, they can monitor. No, they can actually. There was a disadvantage of being of ratifying the convention. I'm not too familiar with it.
That was their claim, ma'am. But the government side, we will be clarifying that
In the
during the
TWG.
TWG.
Okay, we'll just discuss it there. But the U.S. did not ratify it, no? The U.S. is not part
did
of the
not sign.
convention. And Russia as well.
Yeah.
Oh, see? There must be a reason why the U.S. and Russia are not. And why do we want? Siguro tanong nyo kay ES. Oo. Ha? O, di nyo alam yan na nga eh. They're pushing us to ratify. As Chairman of Foreign Relations, I'm studying it. There must be a reason why the U.S. and Russia and China have not ratified it. Are not. Kaya nga, ba't natin gusto? Anong advantage sa atin? May dahilan bakit ang Amerika ayaw. For security, for military security and marine environment.
He's very much on top of
Really?
Coast Watch.
I'd like to meet him sa Coast Watch.
Very efficient.
And the head of the PSR is the NSA. Si General Esperon ng PSR. Kami na lang mag-uusap. Or is it Deputy Executive Secretary Bernardo?
No, it's the National Security Advisor,
Oo,
ma'am.
but ikaw yata ang security expert sa ES office eh.
No, just among the Intel practitioner, just among the practitioner.
Okay, sige. Sige. Thank you very much, Executive Secretary Medjaldea and the Office of the President's team. We'll now go to the PMS budget. How many will remain for the PMS budget?
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good day.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
1 minute suspension. Record. Sige. Present. I know. No, increase yan eh, kasi wala silang gamit. Increase yan. Thanks. Tabi po kayo. Ba't dalawa lang kayo? Ilan kayo sa
Good
PMS?
afternoon, Madam Chair. There's more than 400 of us distributed across one central office and 15 regional field units. Naka-scatter, ma'am. Yung iba nasa mga government centers. Kasi for presidential engagements, ma'am, and also for quick gathering of info, some of which feeds into the daily briefer.
There is the Region 6 PMS office
Iloilo po.
under a separate PMS office or under a government office? Ilang tao doon? And what would you call the head, a regional director of PMS?
Team leader. No, don't have regional director. Team leader po, Your Honor.
Chief level, ma'am.
Only in 15 regions.
15 po.
Like Region 4A, saan tayo?
Newly opened yun, Calamba, Laguna.
Okay.
Tara, please. sit
In
down.
Cordillera, where are we, Baguio?
La Trinidad.
La Trinidad. How interesting. When did you start having the 15 offices?
We started, actually, when President Duterte took over, we just had 8. And so we expanded, ma'am, to 15 for the past 2 years po.
In Dagupan, ma'am. Region 2, we're into Gigarao. Yes. Clark, Pampanga po. 4A is in Calamba, is in Mindoro. Ang Calapan po. Legazpi City. Iloilo City. Cebu, yes, ma'am. Is in Tacloban. 9 is in Zamboanga. 10 is in Cagayan de Oro. 11 is in Davao, of course. And 12, we have Jensan. And then 13 in Butuan. Yes, ma'am. No. We have 15. The other coverage of farm is spread in some of our RFUs according to proximity. In terms of proximity, ma'am, geographically, covered sila and the access is easier. Yes po. Yes, ma'am. No, the proximity, ma'am, the access to the area po. Yes.
Socorro Aidinan, Director for
Microphone.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Socorro Aidinan, Director for Information Technology Office. Ma'am, not. Yes, ma'am. It's a new assignment, ma'am. How long? I have been with PMS since 1990, so that's 28 years, ma'am.
IT for a long time.
No, ma'am. Just this year, ma'am. Yes. I've
Okay.
been with planning office
Okay.
and previously and finance previously and
Galing.
Yes.
So, multitasking, multi-talented. Okay.
So we're shifting to an ICT-based approach, ma'am. Video conferencing and all that.
Video conferencing with your 15 offices?
That's right, ma'am.
What time do you do video every day? No.
On a needs basis, ma'am.
Okay. Name.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Vivian Vargas. I'm the officer in charge of the Office for Regional Concerns.
That's why you know all the regions. Good.
I was formerly based in Legazpi City.
Kayo po, career din, si ASEC, Tamundong.
Yes, Your Honor.
How many years?
Over 30 na lang. Over 30 years.
Yung totoo.
Yun nga, sir. Yun nga.
Ilan po yung eksakto?
31 this coming November.
I was requesting you, Sekwi, to do a handbook of complete staff work because everybody can learn, even the new ones who are joining your office. And I would like to have a copy because I have a own workbook, guidebook, tala ha, 20 years na ako dito, of my complete staff work. You know how disciplinarian I am, how OC and ganyan. So it would be good to put it together for those who work in government in offices. Like, if only I had a staff, I want to have a briefer every day. I mean, a situation briefer. Although I have briefers for every event, but it would be good to see. Maybe I could have a copy, if it's not confidential, of a briefer for the president of an event, a simple event. So we see your format. Although DFA has their own briefer also. Kung pwede lang. Yeah. Okay. Di na siguro mag-present, ganun mo lang. Okay na yan. On record lang.
Tada, ano lang. Alam na ni ma'am yan. Okay, that's our requested budget for 2019. And in real terms, ma'am, that's actually a decrease because the only increase here is for personnel services. MO in capital outlay, both decreased. So total, just a 3% increase over last year because of PS. Thank you very much, ma'am. Good afternoon po.
Don't want to put on record your need, your request. You put it on record so that
Okay,
we will
ma'am,
remember.
we just want to put on record our request for an additional 46.225 million to cover expenditures related, directly related to our transfer next year to our newly retrofitted PMS building. The transfer was supposed to have happened, ma'am, mga around the end of next year pa po. But because of a compressed work schedule, we are hoping that it would happen earlier than projected. And so when we transfer to our newly retrofitted building, for reasons of space efficiency and productivity, we'll be shifting to office systems. Less partitions, more interactive office spaces. Kasi ganun yung work style ng PMS eh. It's got to be fluid, dynamic, fast. Yun nga ma'am, napansin ko kahapon. So office systems po ma'am, mapupunta yung capital outlay. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. More power.
Budget ng mga presidential advisor, hindi sa inyo, sa OP. Ilan ba ang ating presidential advisor? Mga envoy, yung mga, walang sweldo yung mga yan. Iba yung presidential advisor, iba yung special presidential assistant, iba yung special envoy.
That's right, ma'am.
Just give it to us na lang, not now.
Oh, sige, ma'am. The
Ano
envoys,
nangyari sa...
as far as I can recall, wala pa, ma'am. Eh. Wala pa. Director Tintin Yulo is here. Tintin, would you like to sit?
Have a list of all presidential advisors, assistants, special envoy positions, and are the budgets lodged under the PS? I didn't see it. I mean OP. I didn't see nandun na yun sa kanilang personnel. Okay, that's all. So with that, we thank the PMS headed by Yusek Kui. We deem your budget submitted for approved on in committee and submitted for plenary, both the Office of the President and the Presidential Management staff. Taking into consideration the request for submissions and the requested augmentation for your budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. On behalf of the PMS Mancom, you have our gratitude and support.